There I was, scrolling the internet, thinking, oh yeah, New Mexico mod did interviews recently. Pull them up. Start writing script. Discord friend request.png. Happyface.png. Who dis? Zap. Lead project designer. That's pretty cool. Send message. Get message.
So yeah, that's a weird intro to this, but I'm honestly not feeling well this week, so I'm putting Brian to work this week to get us started. This is honestly about how this story fell into my lap, and it did kind of fall into my lap. I was just chilling when the project lead hit me up, sent me a friend request on Discord, and now I have some awesome info for you guys about this upcoming mod project. So my first question, right, had to do with kind of what changed, because he opened up and said that a lot had changed about the mod since the Game Rant interview that they did, which I was actually doing a video on when he hit me up. All right, so I asked him, you said you had to change the scope and you're going to put out a video to explain the new vision. Can you give us a bit of a tease of how that'll, affect the development of the mod? And this was their response. The new vision was something that accrued over the course of the development of the mod. To elaborate on it more, we've had two project leads who both have had their own vision of this project. While I've been with this project from the very start and I've played a huge role in coming up with the entire mod concept, this new vision can be seen as everyone's concept coming together into a much more realistic and better one. I've always been the lead designer, so the level design, scripting, etc., it's all the same, and has changed in the slightest to fit in with the new 2166 timeline. For example, Jet isn't around in 2166 since it was invented by Myron in 2241 by discovering that Brahmin poop fumes were getting people mildly high. So something to keep in mind about this mod project, and that's got me feeling warm and fuzzy in my tum-tum, right? They're paying attention to established lore. That's a big thing right there for me personally, and probably for a lot of you, is that they're actually going to follow the established lore of the series, not the retconned lore. Now, Fallout fans are of a couple different varieties. You have your newer ones that don't understand how irritating this is, and then you have your core fan base, the ones that really love Fallout, that actually do know why this is wrong, why there shouldn't be Jet in a vault, why the Brotherhood shouldn't be in West Virginia, and stuff like that. So it's going to be refreshing, and because of that, I doubt we're going to see Brotherhood either, which is also going to be refreshing because they're in everything with Bethesda. So it's something to keep in mind, something to be a little excited about, is you're going to get a different type of Fallout experience, a more traditional Fallout experience. Especially with this time frame, you're probably not going to have a lot of established towns or anything. It's going to look more like Fallout 1, but in 3D. Now, to set the stage of this mod a little bit, it was originally going to be kind of a sequel to New Vegas, and so I asked him a question in regards to that, because a little bit of me was hoping that there would be a hint of some Fallout Dust in there, and if you haven't played Dust, you really should. It's very difficult, it's going to be frustrating, but the story of it takes the assumptions that are in place for Fallout New Vegas and just runs with Murphy's Law and scissors in its hands to create that world. And I was hoping that there was a little bit of that in the reasoning to why. I was a bit disappointed, but that doesn't mean it's a bad thing. And his answer to that, on why he changed to be more of a prequel, and what difficulties was he thinking would hinder a sequel, is, quote, I should start off by saying 2255 was a wonderful timeline and idea. I think it really made the development of the mod easier for us. We came up with Tibbet's Prison, and it just started to all fall into place when we changed it to that year. However, the change to make it in the year 2166 was something that was a tough decision to make, but it's the realization that it'd be smarter and easier for me to get the project to actually launch sooner than later by tapering off of the New Vegas formula of a much more civilized world. It's not ideal for us to try and do it in the form of New Vegas. I'm the only current active developer who is working on the GEC, writing, scripting, designing, etc. So it's really me taking a step back and seeing what I can actually do. I don't like making generic NPCs who are just there. I'm real nitpicky about NPCs being put into the world. So to have a huge town be completely filled with drone NPCs is something I would hate for people to experience. He ain't alone. One of the big problems, and even criticisms of Cyberpunk 2077, right, is that it didn't feel like you were living in the world. Yeah, there's NPCs going about, but like they didn't have schedules, right? Whereas Skyrim had this to a degree where NPCs had a schedule that they would go about doing things. Fallout 4 kinda did, but not fully. I think honestly the best example of this is going to be I'm gonna beat this drum again, Stalker, and how NPCs would actually travel, complete jobs, find items, be excited and tell everybody about them. Then you'd have someone go after them. It felt like you had other players, other actual people in the game with you instead of NPCs. And getting that feeling there to actually flesh out an NPC and make even a settlement feel more alive and vibrant and bring you in with that immersion takes a lot more work. So I'm really gonna appreciate the time that they put into that if they can pull it off. My next question was, with Nuevo Mexico being a lot less civilized, will this be more pre-Caesar's Legion? I really didn't even need to ask that. I was just kind of like flexing my little investigative journal muscles on this, that I had a theory that one of the three factions would be mentioned, would be them. And what I mean by mentioned prior is in that Game Rant interview, it was stated there were going to be three major factions and two of them were aligning against the one. Now, if you go back into the history of Fallout, Caesar's Legion was established in Arizona and New Mexico in 2247. That's going to be 100 years after the setting of Nuevo Mexico now of 2166. So I wouldn't expect any Legion content in there at all, to be honest, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. You will have tribals that will actually be fighting it out, etc., etc. His answer was as such. It was planned for our 2255 timeline to include some Legion stuff, but with our 2166 timeline, it's not something that we'll really be diving into. It'll be a very fresh kind of setting. If one wanted to look at the mod project and say, these tribes and towns will eventually be conquered by the Legion, then that'd be as close to what the faction will be connected to in there. And that does make sense. 100% makes sense because it's 100 years. I don't even think that the Legion wasn't my best question, okay? We'll just move on from there.
Hold up. Wait a minute.
Now, this one was where I did feel a little happy about. In their article in Game Rant, they mentioned treasure hunts, specifically one inspired by the Red Hill treasure story. Now, that location is around Silver City and Pinos Altos. Was that a clue of some of the biomes that you'll have, Gila Natural Forest and White Sands, New Mexico? That's the question that I specifically asked them right there. And there's a reason for that, and some of you who know your American history may pick up on where I was going with that. But it took a little bit of digging to come to the conclusion of the location. I had to look up the history of the Red Hill treasure story. Then I had to see what was around there. There's a highway that goes along there. And I think it's 65. I could be 16 or 15. I'll have it up over my face at this point so that you know what I'm talking about. But there's a highway that will go up the map. And it would make sense for the mod to be a little more like New Vegas in that sense. You have a national forest to the north, like Jacobstown. You have a couple major cities with multiple ties to mine's Native American history. It could have really easily been translated to the New Vegas map. And it may still be, though it's not going to be a civilized area. Silver City, if it makes it in there, or Pinos Altos, will probably be just settlements. And with White Sands close, that means Roswell, that means Area 51, and that means potential Zetans, and there's his answers on that. So then I asked what other mod projects inspired him to take this on. His answer was New California. Quote, I would say Fallout New California did. I was never a huge fan of the Frontier, even before the distaste that was its launch. I saw the trailers and one could tell it was going to be combat focused and made by, well, you know. We know, my dude. We know. Now, first, New California is a fantastic mod to be inspired by. It was well done, well received, and zero controversy for it comes to mind, so it's a good pick. And like Nuevo Mexico, it's a prequel to the events of the game that it's made in, and that's perfectly fine. You can explore before, you can explore after, you can explore something completely off in left field or right field or whatever. But this isn't a bad inspiration to draw from, is going to be the point. And honestly, even though New California felt a little more linear, I'd rather have a well-done linear story than an open world that's filled with just grinding and fetch quests. Will you release other tidbits of the mods like other mod projects have, or will we just be waiting for the full release? His answer was, we did at one point want to release weapons and whatnot, but weapons have never been a huge focal point of this project. I know Bishop and the other devs are fans, so they'll definitely have stuff for people to use in the mod. To answer your question, we will release something people can check out. You'll get something before the mod launches. This may or may not be an expectation of people going forward. I don't know, but it's something that I wanted to kind of put out there because building hype for your mod project is a good thing. These people aren't getting paid for them. They can't get paid for these mods, which is a discussion for another day, but there's a lot of work and a lot of love that goes into them. And I would want everybody to know about this, and that's one of the reasons why I'm focusing on this mod, because it's not the gigantic Fallout London, it's not the massive remakes that we're going to get, but it's still looking up. It still looks like it's shaping up to be a very, very good and fun mod. Now, my next question was in light to some of the changes made from the Game Rant interviews to when I was actually talking with Zap, and they had the plan to release a trilogy of trailers to give us an idea of what's coming. And I wanted to know if they were sticking to that. And to be honest, I think that the Fallout and Bethesda community at large is very hungry for information because we're being starved from Starfield info, but we're being starved for information about Starfield. We're not getting anything, and until they at least announce the actual showcase for it, we're not going to get anything unless some stuff leaks, but leaks are hit or miss. So his answer was simply yes. We'll still be releasing a trilogy of teasers this year. While our first teaser was planned to release this coming month, I needed to direct my focus on changing a lot of the timeline changes, but that's pretty much almost done now. We will have something people will be more happy to see before we show off our trilogy of teasers. It should give people a lot to examine on. So we're going to get more trailers this year coming out, and that's something to look forward to. Hilariously enough, just as an aside, this Reddit post popped up while I was planning this video as well, and it'll be linked below so you can take a look. That they should be pleasantly surprised. When I showed Zap this, this is what he said. So the last tidbit that we'll go over is I did ask him if he was planning to expand the team, and he did give an answer to that. I do wish to get more developers, but I've learned a valuable lesson. And that lesson is that a lot of people have different visions for what something should be. It's hard to find people who have the same creative process as myself. We are, of course, always looking for people who can make art, 3D models, and can script, but even when it comes to level design, I'd rather do it myself. Just know what something looks like best. And I can't argue with him. When you have a vision, and especially when you're talking back and forth, and I've had to do this with a couple of editors I've tried out, communicating via text is hard to get your idea across. Sitting down and communicating face to face is a lot better. That's how we've evolved to communicate. In conclusion, keep an ear out for this mod. Keep your eyes peeled. Subscribe to their YouTube channels and click the notification bell for them as well, so you'll know when they drop those teasers that they mentioned. This mod project seems like it's starting to build up some steam. We're gonna get some more news. I doubt it'll be released this year, but we have plenty to look forward to if you're a fan of this channel already coming out this year. So just having this in your back pocket isn't a bad thing. So keep your eyes out for that as well. Y'all have a wonderful day, and I will see you all next time.